Hey everybody, this is Abraham Cullivan. In this video today I'm going to talk about the real estate broker who made me feel like crap a few years ago, but now looking back I'm so thankful that he kind of knocked me down a few levels. So I'm going to go through what I was dealing with at the time, why I felt that way, and really the questions he asked me that kind of opened my mind, and that when I look back on it, it was worth those feelings, whatever those feelings might have been. So stick with me. Quick backstory here. In October 2015, I decided when Daniela and I were living in the Alston area that I wanted to be a real estate agent. So I went ahead and I took a real estate course and I got certified to be a Massachusetts real estate salesperson. I had to pass an exam. I did really well in the exam. And then from that point on, I had to interview at different brokerages to see where I was going to work. I think I set up about 3 to 5 different interviews at brokerages, and they all went very differently. Some people also mailed stuff out to me, so I would receive stuff in the mail and hear about firms that way. And then there were also some that were posting that they were looking for new salespeople on Craigslist. Why was I drawn to this? I was drawn to this because of the promises of the income to be made.
What I try to tell you, this country, you gotta make the money first. Then when you get the money, you get the power.
Whether it was a Craigslist post or a mailer, they all said that new real estate agents can earn up to $10,000 in commission a month. And I remember saying to myself, well, I have this student loan debt and I haven't had a job in 6 months because I was let go from my job at WGBH as production assistant. It had been a while since a steady income was coming. So I was like, well, if I make even $5,000 a month, that's a big deal. So I ended up interviewing at 3 to 5 different firms. And I remember one of the firms was a great interview. The guy who was interviewing me had been doing this for a handful of years. He was at one of the more popular agencies and firms in the Boston area. A lot of volume. They work with a lot of students who are renting apartments, college students, because Boston is a college city. And we got along really well, and he basically asked me like when I wanted to start. Like he was really happy with what my answers were and stuff. And I knew that I had a couple other interviews lined up, so I kind of said, well, I'm still deciding, can I get back to you? And he said, yeah, absolutely. I wanted to look at firms that were well established and that had like a lot of agents and were doing a lot of volume. But then the other part of me was thinking, well, if I'm gonna make money, then I don't wanna go to a firm where I'm gonna have to compete with other agents. I'm already gonna be competing with other agents in the city. So why would I go to a firm that has a lot of agents internally who I have to compete with? So one of the places I interviewed was a startup. And I remember walking into the interview and the owner of the agency, who would eventually become my boss for a short period of time, he was sitting behind his iMac and he was sitting in his IKEA furniture in his nice little desk chair. When I was about to sit down there, I had less than $100 in my pocket. I'm pretty sure I hadn't shaved in a little while. My beard was probably not in the best shape. These were the days where I would let my beard get the best of me, and I didn't have necessarily the nicest clothes. So needless to say, I was kind of like in that mode of being desperate and open to any possibility. I go into that interview, the interview goes really well. I felt like I had a connection with the owner of the agency. Went home, talked to Daniela about it, told her that I really liked this guy and I liked the energy he had. I liked that it was a startup. I was like, maybe, there's a lot I can learn here. I can get in on the ground floor, da-da-da-da-da. And we were like, yeah, why not? Let's go for it. So I went for it, I started, and I should have seen the warning signs, but this guy definitely knew what he was doing. He was definitely experienced in the industry. I'm not gonna try to take that away from him, but his professionalism was not of the highest quality. So like I said, during this time, I kept receiving mailers from other firms in the city that wanted new salespeople. And so I was like, you know what? I'm kind of looking for an exit right now. Needless to say, I did rent one apartment to a French guy, and I rented the apartment in East Boston. It was a recently renovated apartment. I learned a lot from that experience. But over the course of 4 weeks, I only did one deal. And my commission on that was right around $500 or $600. So that $10,000 commission promise was not happening for me. And I remember that every week I was posting 50 to 100 Craigslist ads, and I was posting it to all these Facebook groups. So I was definitely putting the work in, but I didn't know much about sales. I didn't know how to connect with people, didn't know how to talk to people.
To the degree that you're able to help yourself right now, to listen to this message is a great thing. Congratulations. It's what you do after this message Do you even remember the 5 things I shared with you? If not, go back and watch the video and you'll see the importance of repetition.
In the back of my mind, because I wasn't super happy with the professionalism of my first boss and also my results as a real estate agent, I decided, you know what, I'm going to start calling these people who are sending me mail. And one of them was for a luxury brand. And I remember it was very hard to get a hold of the hiring manager, who was also, I think, the lead broker there. And eventually when I did get a hold of him, we kind of did like a mini interview on the phone when he did call me back. And then he's like, all right, I want you to come in person. This is what I have thought about a lot since it happened. So when I sat down for this interview with this broker, I felt immediately like intimidated. You know, I had kind of started changing how I was dressing, and I made sure my beard was a little nicer and all that, but I didn't have a lot of money still. And so I remember sitting across from him, and he basically was asking me, what are my other passions besides doing real estate? At the time, and it's still my passion, I told him, like, I like making films and we might someday make wedding films. I remember him looking at me and kind of just nodding and not saying much. And it threw me off. I was like, wow, this guy's asking me my passions, I'm telling him, and he doesn't really care. Another question of his was like, what would you consider a success if you ended up working with us? And I didn't really have an answer for that. I kind of like fumbled through and I gave my answer and I said, you know, maybe if I made $5,000 a month. And I could tell that that number to him was tiny, right? He didn't say anything, again, he didn't say anything directly like, you're crazy or you're off your rocker or you're not gonna work out here. He kind of just nodded his head and he kept going with his line of questioning. There was one question he asked straight up and he's like, so why do you want to do real estate in general? Not just why do you want to work at this firm, but why do you want to do real estate? And I gave him some spiel that I had in my head. I concocted it a while ago and I was like, well, real estate is visual assets, and because I'm a filmmaker, I feel like I can sell it really well, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, shit!
And again, he kind of just like nodded his head, you know. One of the last questions he asked me was like, what would you be doing if you weren't doing this? And that kind of like opened up this whole can of worms for me, because deep down, what I really wanted to do was have my own business. I wanted to make wedding films with Daniela. I wanted to serve couples. And here this man was asking me in his beautiful office with all these $1 million listings on the wall, what would you be doing if you weren't doing this? And again, I had to come up with some fake answer, and like deep down I knew that really wasn't what I wanted to do, but externally I was telling others and I was telling the world and I was telling the people close to me, I wanted to be this real estate agent. The real reason I'm making this video is to say to you, whoever you are out there, that if you have a passion, you should go 110% into it. There's going to be stumbling blocks, there's going to be uncertainty along the way, and especially if you're going to interviews and you're trying to get a job somewhere else, when they're asking you these tough questions like what would you rather be doing or why do you want to do this, if you find that you don't have an answer, that means something. I really believe that there's power in asking that question why. A lot of times when we answer the why question, we'll have some answer like, well, I want to make money. Well, then I would dig deeper and I would say, why do you want to make money? I want to make money so I can pay my bills. Why do you want to pay your bills? Well, I don't want to be on the street. Why don't you want to be on the street? And then they might say, well, because my parents struggled a lot and there were times where we got evicted.
It's not a simple pass fail. You're not quitting on this yet, are you?
Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. Not even me. All right?
All right.
Once you find the core of your motivations, now you know exactly what's driving you, and you can apply that to your passions, your skill sets, and really start to succeed. I just felt like I had to make this video. I also felt like I'd like to give you more backstory about me and let you know that, you know, I tried a lot of different things. One of my other jobs when we were living in Boston was I was a Lyft driver. I delivered pizzas for Otto Pizzeria. We were pet sitters. We had a lot of different jobs that we did. Through it all, I never stopped feeling like ultimately I wanted to be a filmmaker and I wanted to try to have my own business. Search within, remember to have fun, and remember to fail, and be willing to be embarrassed, put yourself out there, and be rejected. It's part of the process. I'm right here with you. So comment below what you thought of this video. If you'd like to hear more backstories like this, I've got a lot more that I could tell, and I'm very happy that I made this video. It was liberating.
What is binding you? That's what you need to break, isn't it?
Feel free to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I also hope that you share it around with your friends and your family. And remember also to work smarter, not harder. Take care.